Well, my name is Juan Francisco Muño. I have been living in Czech Republic since September 2020. I got here, if I'm correctly, it's the 6th of September 2020. I recently turned 30 years old, so I got here when I was 25. Now I'm turning the decade in a different country, and I love it, actually. I really like it here. I came here to study a master's degree in Charles University. I studied Geopolitical Studies in the Faculty of Social Sciences. Afterwards, I loved it in the country, and I stayed working, and I have my friends here, I have my partner here, so I am I am one Prague and more. I mean, when I was considering the different places that I could go and study, for me it was really important to have a location that was interesting, to have a different perspective to what I was learning in university back home. I did international relations there, and obviously the perspective there is more focused on, like, I don't know, South America, the southern flank of the European Union and stuff like this, whereas the options that I checked were mostly related to Central Europe or to Eastern Europe. I found two options that were Berlin and Prague. And I had come to Prague before. I do remember that the general feeling that the city gave me was really welcoming. So the opportunity of also experiencing something that I had never before in the long term, Slavic language, different traditions of mine, was really, really appealing, and I'm really happy that I took that decision, because in 5 years I've been able to experience a lot of this country, and I'd say it was a correct decision. I did find a little bit problematic for myself in the beginning that Czech people, for example, would not be that open to welcome you into their groups of friends or their groups of going out and stuff like this. Whereas I always tell it to my friends, if you join a football team back home and you don't speak Spanish, that night they're gonna get you out and you're gonna go drink some beers with them, and everyone is gonna be super friendly. Then they may be your friends or not, but everybody's gonna be super friendly from the start. Whereas here in Czech Republic, you will go and play with the team, and then 3 months later they will invite you for a beer. And then they will be your friends. But it is true that it will take longer for that sort of proximity to the person that you're speaking to. I feel like I'm fairly adapted in many ways. I feel like in the day-to-day I am adapted. But it is a really multicultural place at the moment. So I'd say it's fairly easy to feel adapted right now in a city like Prague. I bet that if I was living in other cities, smaller places where there's not that many immigrants and stuff like this, probably I would speak better Czech, I would have a more settled Czech lifestyle, because after 5 years, you adapt to many of the things. I mean, I still don't eat carb for Christmas, but I do like my good Svíčková. My favorite beer is Kozel, and I'm pretty sure people are gonna tell me that that's not okay, but it's mine and it's Czech. I'm fairly integrated. Now I have my Czech friends for some time now. I've been working with Czech companies, or better said, institutions, I would say. Yeah. Nowadays I'm not Czech, but I'm as close as you can get to me being Spanish. I mean, one thing is that, for example, I never had the chance to meet anybody that had done. Well, I had the chance to meet, like, I don't know, we had conferences, for example, but in the conferences you were 200 people and you don't really actually get to do anything or say anything or talk to anybody. And it was once every many moons. So in that sense, a bit more hands-on experience, at least from my experience of education in Spain. Second, in comparison, although I think this This is probably more in comparison with my particular alma mater back home, which does not have that much student life beyond the walls. It's more you go to your class, there's not that many associations, there's not that many student-led groups that, I don't know, as I've been here to cinema session about some conflict in the early 20th century. Specifically, I remember going to a video show of the Armenian genocide of the 20th century, and you have people there talking about it, and you go and then you have an art exposition that is right beside it and stuff like this. This is something that back home, at least in my experience back home, I did not have. So that makes a difference. So the Geopolitical Pickle started 3 years ago, and it's a podcast where we speak about geopolitics, and many times we also have interviews with people that are actually practitioners. And now it evolved as well into a bi-weekly newsletter where we explain different topics related to geopolitics and international politics. The idea is to have it in a more, not in an extremely academic way, so that people that are not necessarily knowledgeable of the topics can actually access them and can get some info. So my idea, and I was lucky that my colleague Ronan had the same idea, we wanted to bring geopolitics to the wider public in an easier language. And I presented it to the program coordinator, to the Geopolitical Studies program coordinator, and to one of the teachers. And they said, okay, we really like the idea. What do you want? What do you need from us? And I was like, well, I need a microphone because I don't have a microphone. And they were like, okay, well, we'll see if we can do it. So in the end, we got to an agreement where for a certain period of time, we were going to do it under the umbrella of the Masters in Geopolitics. Pickle means basically like a struggle, a mess, a problem. So we found it funny. We found it funny. It was a way of having a name that was a little bit fresh, because already the geopolitical, there's a lot of, and not at the time, but right now there's a lot of stuff. And we just found it funny. Honestly, we could put a pickle in the logo, and we've had a pickle in the logo for a really long time. Geopolitics, right now, I think people are learning how to use it properly, because it's getting better in the media. If you, in the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine, for example, geopolitics was used as a random word of international relations. Whereas now I think it is much more related to, for example, when you speak about the Belt and Road Initiative in China, and they say the word geopolitics and they analyze it from a geographical perspective, which are the countries that this initiative has to go through, how much money, the physicality of the countries themselves, if it's mountainous, if it's not, then that makes more sense. Nevertheless, geopolitics is fairly open. It's really, in my opinion, it's not a science per se, and it's a different framework for you to look at the world instead of just looking at, well, you're white, black, whatever you want to be. You're like, okay, so you come from a place that is really mountainous, that, I don't know, you have many rivers, but it's a country without sea. So what are the problems that this country without sea access is going to have to export? Their minerals. That is geopolitics. It can teach you that you can have a really close relation with a faraway country because of historical ties, because of political ties that don't exist anymore. I find it fascinating, the Czech-Vietnamese connection. It's fascinating because it's a connection made in the 60s under the auspice of the Soviet Union. Both countries are outside of the auspice of the Soviet Union. Vietnam and Czech Republic have different political systems right now. And still, the population exchange between the two states was so significant in such a deep way that the Vietnamese community in the Czech Republic is big, is completely integrated or mostly integrated, and it's a necessary part of the country at this point. To me, that shows that, and it's really far away, and they don't look like Czechs, like the stereotypical Czech person, and they may even have different food style. But Vietnamese food style is when I tell my parents, okay, let's go and grab Czech food, I mean either a svíčková or a pho, because it is what it is. Now, on the geopolitical aspect, the strictly geopolitical aspect is extraordinarily beneficial position that the Czech Republic has in the European Union geographically. The Czech Republic was actually not lucky with geography for many centuries, because it's plain mostly. So any invader from east to west could just come and swipe over the country, except for a couple places with fortresses and stuff. That's why the Czech Republic has so many castles. Now, today, the location, the significance of its geography has just changed the position of the Czech Republic, and right now it is really a country at the heart of Europe that can benefit from everything that Europe can offer.